All right. Welcome to the Week 15 recap of the NFL season. My name is Lewis, and my beautiful co-host next to me is Laraib, as we are going through most of the games from this Week 15 schedule, previewing the impending playoffs that are coming down ever so frequently or so fast coming towards us all. But first things first, Laraib, how do we do this week?
Yep, let me pull up the picks. I think that it is about over. Quick thing to know, both of our locks for the first time this season did not go through. But I have to hats off to you, Lewis. You almost got every single game right this week, except for the Rams, surprising loss, along with the Steelers' surprising loss, which were our two locks of the week. But besides that, you just ran through me this week. I was trying to go a little bit risky, just so I could have that comeback chance. But unfortunately, it fell through, and you secured the dub.
I want to thank for my Christmas. I want to give a Christmas present shout out to Tony Pollard. I want to thank David Montgomery. Of course, I want to thank Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. I do not want to thank anyone on the Jets, Bengals, Steelers, or Rams for their performances, because I would have gone perfect for the first time this entire season if the two double-digit favorites just would have beaten the inferior opponents. But with this week, I have a 4-week advantage with 2 weeks remaining. So if you do the math, I have secured the win for the season. I have secured the box combo. However, the playoffs will be a whole different story. And we'll get to that when we get to the playoffs. But I want to thank those teams, obviously, winning this out with a very emphatic fashion with a 5-game advantage. But a lot of crazy stuff happened this week, Laraib. So let's get straight to it with our overreaction Monday coming to you on a Wednesday. But first things first, on Monday Night Football action, shocking upset. For the third straight loss, the Steelers lost to a pretty inferior opponent and the Ryan Finley-led Bengals. Ryan Finley could not stop smiling the entire time as he was beating down the Steelers on Monday Night Football. So, Laura, I have to ask you, with 2 games remaining and an outside shot, the Browns are going to come all the way back and win the AFC North.
Now, everyone loves a good Cinderella story, but unfortunately, I think this will not come to fruition. I know the Steelers do play the Browns week 17, but also the Steelers play the Colts this week. But when it all comes down, everything being said and done, I think the Steelers will be able to pull it out. We know the Steelers have been struggling all season, the past couple of weeks, but Mike Tomlin, I think he can put it together. And, the Browns, I do like their chances, but it's going to be an uphill battle for them just because of their, it's all going to come down to the week 17 game. The Browns are or do not have the divisional the record that they really need to get them ahead. But going forward, their schedule are the Jets this week, so they could easily win this game, and all come down to week 17. But I just have a lot more trust in the Steelers.
Well, the Jets aren't going to mess around and try to win another game, but we'll get to that later. I don't think this is an overreaction, Rob. I honestly think that the Steelers could fall again to the Colts, who've been playing very well, and we've seen how the Steelers have played the past 3 weeks, and they just look like a broken football team. Injuries, yes, have plagued them. We've talked about the misfortune they've suffered this season, but this offense has really not been operating well whatsoever in any phase. Now the passing game, Big Ben threw 38 passes in this game for only 170 yards. It just shows you that they're not taking a lot of chances downfield. They're relying way too much on run after the catch to get them chunk yardage. And if not, it's just check down, check down, check down, check down. And teams are just, they're playing vanilla defenses. They're playing base coverages. And there's not much the Steelers can do about it. Big Ben does not look that great. He's probably in the bottom half of quarterbacks in terms of how he's playing this season, or at least definitely how he's been playing over the past 4 weeks. And there's definitely pause for concern about this team. There's a possibility they lose 5 straight games going into the playoffs and then are a first-round exit in the wild card round on the road. And, I don't want to see this for this team. I love Coach Tomlin. I love how he gets his guys ready. But This is really troubling for me and for all Steelers fans because there's not much you can do now. Your running backs are just too battered, too banged up. That offensive line is getting worn down at this point of the season, letting inferior defensive lines really push them around. I mean, we saw last night for what time we're filming this on a Tuesday. I mean, Carl Lawson looked like the next coming of, Reggie White, the way he was just destroying Ben Roethlisberger play after play after play. And they were getting so much pressure on that offensive front that it was like, but this is the 2-10-1 Bengals who are doing this. Now the 3-10-1 Bengals. But I'm with a backup quarterback it's at Cincinnati, but that's a game you should not lose. And there's not much reason for me to think that the Steelers can beat the Colts next week, even at home. So when it comes down to a Week 17 matchup, Steelers versus the Browns at Cleveland, I'd pick the Browns to win that one. Honestly, I think that Vegas would pick them to be favored, if not to pick them.
Well, we know the Browns' offense really structures around their two running back duos that they have with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. But when they're going up against the best or one of the best run defenses in the league in the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think that may be some cause for concern. But Baker Mayfield, he's been playing outstanding in this back half of the season. So very well, they do win the AFC. But just like you're saying, just like we've both been saying, it comes down to the Week 17 matchup. Which team just is going to want it more?
Well, the thing is, we saw them against a really good run defense in the New York Giants on Sunday Night Football, and that gave them a lot of trouble. I mean, the Giants' run defense gave them a lot of trouble, but they still got out of there, and that was on pace. I mean, a lot of stuff happened in the fourth quarter. It was on pace in the third quarter to be the fastest NFL game ever, the way the Browns and the Giants were just running the ball. And frankly, if the Browns can establish the run on the Steelers team, there's nothing the Steelers can do to combat that because they're going to get back on the field, go 3-and-out with short passing games. Myles Garrett's going to get in Big Ben's, face the entire time. And we'll get to that game when we go for the predictions in Week 17 to see if this game really will be on the line or not. But, I mean, if you're a Steelers fan, there's a lot of reason to be concerned right now.
Yep, that's for sure. But another overreaction, Lewis, here that I have for you. Overreaction, the Ravens will miss the playoffs.
I'm going to say this is an overreaction. Right now, the Ravens are tied in record with the Dolphins, but the Dolphins have the conference record overall tiebreaker head-to-head. However, the Ravens' schedule coming up is very, very easy. They have the Bengals in Week 17, who they absolutely slaughtered earlier in the season. And coming up, it's another easy game for them. Meanwhile, the Dolphins, the best situation the Dolphins could be hoping for is that the Bills are in a situation in Week 17 where they're locked into their playoff spot. They know who they're facing, and there's no really reason for them to play into their starters or play any of their guys. But if that's not the case, I don't see how this Dolphins team could go into Buffalo and beat Buffalo. So this is a reason to concern for me for Dolphins fans because I don't see how you can get through. Yes, you play the Raiders, who have looked shaky the past few weeks, but they're still a formidable team. They can still have a lot of cause for upset in that game. And then you go on the road to the Bills. Their road is much more difficult, and they cannot afford to drop a single game. And I think they lose to Buffalo in Week 17. I think Buffalo's still going to be in a spot to get that 2 seed from the Steelers or Browns. And if they can jump to that 2 seed, it's just that much better for the Bills to be in that situation to play their starters in Week 17 and try to beat the Dolphins.
Yeah, just like you're saying, it all comes down to that Bills game. Are the starters going to be playing or are they not going to be playing? But on the other side, you're glossing over this Baltimore Ravens schedule, but it is kind of difficult. The Giants still have a playoff shot, and they'll be playing this week against the Ravens. And then the Bengals, when you're playing a divisional game Week 17 and, if you beat your divisional opponent and they miss the playoffs, that's going to be cause for those Bengals players to get up in that game and really show out against the Baltimore Ravens team, which is struggling. So, for the Ravens, on paper, these 2 games look like, easy wins for them. But look, really looking at it, it could be very difficult for them.
Well, the Ravens have gotten a lot healthier in the past few weeks, and the way they've been playing over the past few weeks really tells me that this team is kind of getting back to that form that they were rounding into last season. So Yes, these are tough teams, I guess you could say, but definitely significantly easier than the path that the Dolphins are facing. So it makes me think they're going to sweep their next two opponents and then get that seventh playoff seed. And if you're the second seed in the AFC and this Ravens team has pulled off 5 wins in a row, watch out because they could go on a run in the postseason as the underdogs. Not the pressure's on the other guys. No one's expecting them to come in. Just watch out for the Ravens in these AFC playoffs if they happen to get in. The Dolphins, on the other hand, they have a stingy defense, at times explosive offense, but at times very stagnant. I don't know. If I was the second seed, honestly, if I'm the Bills and I'm the second seed, I would rather face the Dolphins in a situation like that. So maybe you're saying, like, we play the Dolphins week 17, you might be playing them again in the first round in the wild card. So it'll be very interesting to see how this bottom half of the AFC playoffs will be done, seeding wise. It seems like those middle four teams, Titans, Colts, Browns, they're all kind of set right now. Like we're going to see some types of those matchups going into the playoffs, and those are going to be very, very interesting. But as it stands right now, I think the Ravens are going to get in.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Bills are, the Tennessee Titans are only one game back from both the Steelers and the Bills. So, I mean, those teams still got to be looking in the rearview mirror. Maybe, they drop a game and Tennessee Titans can take that number 2 spot. But that's for, you're speaking completely facts. You're talking about those Ravens teams and how they completely done a 180 on their season, right? They lose 3 games in a row and to the Patriots, the Titans, and the Steelers. But they're able to turn around their, Lamar Jackson looking like the MVP that he was last season. And you're definitely right. If I'm a 2 seed, I don't want to see this Ravens team in the playoffs, and that's for sure.
Right, definitely. But now we're going to move on to the very bottom of the AFC as the Jacksonville Jaguars are now in prime position with a 72% chance to gain full control of the number 1 overall draft pick, a.k.a. Trevor Lawrence, as the Jets pull off a stunning road upset over the Los Angeles Rams, who they have much reason to concern themselves. But just focusing on the Jets right now, overreaction, Laraib. The Jets really screwed this thing up by winning a game.
Yeah, that is not an overreaction at all, Lewis. I mean, if you think about Trevor Lawrence is the most hyped quarterback to come out of college football ever since, someone like a Peyton Manning or an Andrew Luck, right? And now, your future is in jeopardy because what was this whole season about? It was all about tanking for Trevor, getting the number 1 overall pick, and securing your future with, a franchise quarterback. Sam Darnold really hasn't been that guy, but now you have a brighter, or you did have a brighter future with Trevor Lawrence. But now, now you're looking at somebody like a Justin Fields or someone else who you really don't have, as much confidence in as you would have as a Trevor Lawrence.
Right. And I mean, Justin Fields' performance, we don't talk much college football, but he did not look very impressive against Northwestern in the Big Ten championship, throwing for 2 interceptions, 0 passing touchdowns. Very uncharacteristic performance from him. But the thing that gives me concern for all the poor, tortured Jets fans out there is you have a chance at a generational talent. And I understand the players on the team right now, they don't give a damn. All they wanted to do is not be another one of those winless teams. And this Jets team has been playing well recently. They should have beaten the Raiders a few weeks ago. They went on the road and beat a really good Rams team, or very good but sometimes inconsistent Rams team on the road, which is just it's wild for me that they pulled this one off. Frank Gore had a blast of the past. So as a coach or a teammate, a player on this team, they all wanted to win this game. And I bet they feel great today, and they're going to feel great this week. And as an NFL player, you don't give a dang about who who your next quarterback is. But as a fan, this is the worst case scenario because when you look at the comps, you talked about it. Andrew Luck, Brett Favre, John Elway, Peyton Manning. That's nothing to sneeze at. Those are some of the best quarterbacks of all time. And you really missed your shot at getting a surefire prospect now. And now there's questions about if even Justin Fields will be the second quarterback taken in this draft. And who knows what you're going to do with Sam Darnold. It seems like you're ready to kick him out of the back door. But, I mean, if you're a Jets player, coach, training member, whatever, anything in that organization, you're thrilled that there's a stigma around those 0-16 teams. We're always going to remember the Browns and the Lions for the most recent, instances of these happening. And you just see how like they haven't really, done anything since then. It's just, ooh, 0-16, disgusting. Like, don't even want to look at those teams. And the Jets, they were looking at a situation where even if we go into 0-16, we're going to get this great quarterback. We're going to have a ton of cap space in free agency. We're getting one of the best middle linebackers in football, and C.J. Mosley back because he opted out this season. And you were looking at a pretty formidable team going into next season. Now, a ton of questions are going to arise around, well, is Justin Fields going to be better than Sam Darnold? Are we going to trade Sam Darnold? Maybe we even just trade this pick, trade down in the draft, and get a bunch more assets to go around a middling level quarterback. There's going to be all these questions everywhere for Jets fans, whereas just 3 days ago, it was Trevor Lawrence coming to New York, but now that's a far cry.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, and now we flip it over to the Jaguars side. I mean, week 1, you beat the Colts, and ever since then, you went on a decline. But now you have Trevor Lawrence, a lot of young pieces on the defensive side of the ball, and now your franchise is on the up and up. Maybe you could be looking for a new head coach, someone like an Eric Bieniemy who can come in and revitalize an offense. You found a stud in James Robinson. You have a nice young wide receiver core with DJ Chark and Keelan Cole, along with Tyler Eifert. So, I mean, they have the makings of a good team. Meanwhile, the Jets, I mean, they basically just threw away their future.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing most – I mean, the Jaguars definitely looking great. Bringing Trevor Lawrence back down to South Florida. He's from Atlanta. He's in that Jacksonville area. So it's going to be great for him to stay down there, I would assume. Jacksonville's not the brightest of, markets, biggest, brightest lights. But, in this day and age of everyone's going to get the press if you're good, he's definitely going to get a lot of shine in Jacksonville. And he's just going to transform this franchise. And we're going to see a great Jacksonville team for as long as Trevor Lawrence is their quarterback. So good for Jags, bad for Jets. But, Laraib, let's move on now.
Yeah, Louis. So this past weekend, the Pro Bowl rosters came out for both the AFC and the NFC. So how about you go ahead and give me 2 overreactions of some players who you thought should or shouldn't have made it?
As we all know, the Pro Bowl is nothing more than a popularity contest. And, who's doing the best in fantasy usually decides the skill players. And as for the defense, it's just who's on the best teams with the best records. And some guys, notably Quandre Diggs, who we're not going to talk about, shouldn't have made it just because he's a flashy player on the Seahawks. I mean, but the biggest problem I have is there's just a lot of things, players who don't get enough recognition, usually in the trenches, linebackers, and Pro Bowl voters just say, okay, well, this guy's been good for a while, or this guy has a really big name because he was a high draft pick. So obviously he belongs in this number. However, that's not been the case, throughout time, or that has been the case. And guys who deserve it over them, who put up better numbers, have bigger impacts on better teams, are getting glossed over. So my first guy, Chase Young, made the Pro Bowl this season. And yes, he has been playing great for this, football team, really igniting their defense. But this team is 6-8. Meanwhile, on the other hand, a 10-4 Saints team whose leading sacker in the NFL, Trey Hendrickson, with 12.5 sacks on the season, does not make the Pro Bowl roster. Now, I get it. Sacks are not everything. But when you're leading the league in sacks, and the leading in the league in sacker the past 10 years has made it to the Pro Bowl. This is the first time this has not happened. And frankly, I'm upset. Not just because I'm a Saints fan, because you'll see my second one, Andrews Pete, who has been a part of a good offensive line the past 3 years. He's gotten a bunch of recognition, really good players around him. But he has played horribly this season. He's dealt with injuries, penalties. It's not been a good season for him. Now, he has his Pro Bowl moments, but overall, as a Pro Bowl player, he has not fit the bill. Meanwhile, Ali Marpet, a part of the Tampa Bay offensive line, who is, great in pass protection, great in the running game. You could really tell, when he's not on the field, it makes a huge difference. because they have to shuffle everything, and that's how Brady gets the most pressure. Ali Marpet has had a significantly more impactful season than Andrews Pete has. So I'm not a homer here, but Trey Hendrickson and Ali Marpet should be in the Pro Bowl over Chase Young and Andrews Pete.
Yeah, and for me, some players that I thought shouldn't have made it. Calais Campbell, he's missed a couple of games this season, and his stats for this season: only 27 tackles and 4 sacks, 0 forced fumbles. On the other side, DeForest Buckner, somebody who could be looking like an All-Pro this season, All-Pro with 52 tackles, 7.5 sacks, along with 2 forced fumbles. Really, I don't understand how someone like that does not make the Pro Bowl over Calais Campbell. And then for the tight end position, Evan Ingram, who has 1 touchdown all season long. And, you can go on TikTok, find the highlight reel of him and the numerous drop balls that he's had all season long. And then you look at someone like a Robert Tonyan, who's had 10 touchdowns this season in one of the best offenses with Aaron Rodgers, doesn't make the Pro Bowl. I do not understand how this Pro Bowl voting works. I wish, there's more from the players, more from the reporters, more than just, the popularity contest that it is right now.
Usually the AP guys for the all-pro teams, there's never many complaints with that. And it's established guys who vote on it every year and is taken seriously. Meanwhile, the Pro Bowl, there's always instances of this, and there's more and more that we haven't even talked about that are almost as egregious as the 4 we did talk about. But, I honestly think going forward, the media should just handle the Pro Bowl voting, or it should be like a NBA All-Star thing where it's the fans have the lowest percent of, how it should be. Coaches, players, media, then fans at the very bottom, because the fans do not get it right.
Yeah, and the sad part about it is, players have it structured into their contract that, if you make this Pro Bowl or however many Pro Bowls, you get extra money. But when you have voting like this, where the fans just have a complete, rule over everyone who makes it, it makes it, just tougher for those players.
Right, absolutely. So, we can harp on that. And if this was a normal season, 80% of the guys who were selected would have opted out anyway. So we would have had Andy Dalton in the Pro Bowl probably at some point after all the NFC guys declined. But let's focus now, Laraib. It is the Christmas season. No more overreactions. It's going into the playoffs. We need to give out some gifts. So every team has a strength who we're going to give a nice Christmas present to. Like, let's say a team not making the playoffs, but the New York Giants, your run defense has been amazing all season. So we're going to give you your secondary. We're going to give you a gift for that. However, your offensive line play, we're going to give you a bag of coal because you have not been playing well for the majority of this season. So you get a big bag of coal. And that's how we're going to go about these things. Laraib, you're going to take the NFC side of these teams and giving out presents and coal, and I'm going to do in the AFC. We're going to alternate from the top of the conference. So you're going to start with the Packers. I'm going to go with the Chiefs, and we're going to make our way down through all the playoff teams and playoff hopeful teams at this point in the season. So, Laraib, you go ahead and start with the Green Bay Packers.
Yes, for the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers, you'll be getting a Christmas present from Santa Claus this year. In the MVP conversation, won't win it this year, obviously. But the reason the Packers are 11-3 is because of you. So have a Christmas present. On the other side, your run defense will be getting a giant bag of coal. One of the worst run defenses in the league, and going forward into the playoffs, they're going to have to tighten up.
Right, and I'm going to flip it over towards the AFC. Patrick Mahomes, you were getting a 50-inch OLED TV from Santa's Truly. You've been playing amazing this season. Probably won't win MVP, but, that's all for you. You've been playing amazing, leading your team to the top record in the AFC. Not much more to say about that. However, this defense's toughness is going to get a bag of coal. There's just times where it's very lackadaisical. They don't try too much, and their toughness can be called out. Smaller in the linebackers and safeties. They don't really hit. They don't lay that oomph every week that you'd want from a defense, but they're 11-1. They're 12-1. They're doing just enough to get the job done. So good for the Kansas City Chiefs.
For the New Orleans Saints, your front seven on the defensive side of the ball will all be getting Rolexes gifted by Drew Brees. We know all the playmakers that they've had: Troy Hendrickson, Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, Quan Alexander. They've played outstanding all season long, one of the best run defenses in the NFL by a whole. And then who will be getting a call from the Saints team? It will be your deep passing attack. Every single one of your wide receivers, along with Drew Brees, will all be getting a giant bag of coal. I mean, when you're thinking about an offense, when you can stretch the ball vertically down the field, that's what really makes you a great threat at all times. And the New Orleans Saints just haven't been able to do it all season long.
And it's similar to a team that I'm going to hit where the Pittsburgh Steelers, everyone's going to get a great steak dinner from big Ben Roethlisberger, as he is going to give this front seven, who's been playing outstanding, studs, T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, Stephon Tuitt, T.J. Watt. Like, the list goes on and on and on about all these great players who have just, been the stalwart of this team, stopping offense. Now, recently, maybe it'll be a little bit less expensive of a steak dinner, but nonetheless, that is your Christmas present. And the running game is getting a big bag of coal. Benny Snell, James Conner, and Ken Norton, the offensive coordinator. You have not been playing very well this season. Recently, of course. So a big bag of coal will be in your stocking because you're not helping your quarterback out whatsoever. And I could give it to the TikToks of the receivers, or I could give it to Big Ben and his just lack of effort at some times in these games. But the running game, I feel like, is the biggest weakness to this team's success. So that is what's getting the biggest bag of coal.
And up next, we have the Seattle Seahawks, and that wide receiver duo core of DK Metcalf along with Tyler Lockett will both be getting brand new ATVs for Christmas this year. And then that secondary, which has played atrocious, one of the worst in, just NFL history, will all be getting giant bags of coal after just, surrendering 400-yard passing games all season long.
Right. And for the Buffalo Bills, Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator, is going to be getting a whole new mansion in the nice countryside of Buffalo, as he has done an excellent job of transforming this offense, making it so versatile, so multiple, and really transforming Josh Allen into one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL with how he's been playing this season. So credit to you, Brian Daboll, and I want to give Josh Allen a bit of a present as well. But the bag of coal I will be handing out, and they have been playing well recently, but it is this run defense and rushing attack. I'm gonna split it into 2 smaller bags of coal. The trenches have not been all there this season. They've been improving, but if you want to win games in January, you need to be able to stop the run and run the ball. But that is the Buffalo Bills.
Yep, and for the Washington football team, Ron Rivera, you will be getting a brand new Mercedes for Christmas this year. You have revitalized this Washington team. A lot of people thought they would be the worst in the NFL, but now they're looking like a playoff hopeful. And for a bag of coal, it will be going to Dwayne Haskins. You thought he might have learned something with sitting behind Alex Smith and Kyle Allen, but he hasn't. Just went out to a strip club with no mask on this past week after losing. So you will be getting a humongous bag of coal for Christmas, Mr. Haskins.
Yep, Mr. Haskins, got to get your act together. You can't be doing that stuff in the NFL. Santa does not approve. You were on his naughty list. But now we are going over to the Tennessee Titans, and who else but Derrick Henry, who is literally getting the state of Tennessee for Christmas and the giant key to all of Tennessee, because that is how magnificent you've been playing all season. You unlock this team. You set the tone for this team. This team is yours. You are the trendsetter, the everything. Great season for one Derrick Henry. And the bag of coal is this pass rush, which is bottom 5 in the league in sacks and pressure rate. And although they've been a bit better recently, I need to see them in a big game really get those big stops, or if not, they're going to lose to teams like a Cleveland, Kansas City, and the tops of the AFC.
Yep, and up next for the Los Angeles Rams, that entire defense will be getting a plot of land in Texas. for just outstanding play all season long. And the bag of coal will be going to none other than Jared Goff. Talk about hit or miss. This guy is a definition. If you look up hit or miss in the dictionary, Jared Goff will come up. You just lost to the winless Jets this past week. Embarrassing for you and the whole organization. Enjoy your bag of coal, sir.
And now for the Cleveland Browns, I will be giving a nice signed LeBron James jersey from Akron, Ohio, to one Kevin Stefanski. You have done an excellent job of establishing the running game in this offense, letting Baker Mayfield play off of it in a play action and quick receiving game, making this offense one of the most formidable units in the entire NFL. Nick Chubb is going to get a nice present as well, but Kevin Stefanski, you're getting the lion's share of the credit. And the bag of coal, just the back end of this defense needs to play a lot better. We see Denzel Ward, but Sendejo, he has not been playing well whatsoever this season. And a lot of those guys, you're getting the bag of coal, and you need to step up if you want to be a team like a Kansas City.
Yep, and for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the entire front seven will be getting brand new Xboxes and PlayStations, whichever one they want, for Christmas this year for their outstanding play. Levante David, Devin White, Shaq Barrett, JPP, all those guys in the front seven, and Ndamukong Suh, outstanding all year, really what's been carrying this team all season long. And then for the bag of coal, it will be going to none other than Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr., as Skip Bayless likes to call him. Everyone complained you didn't have any weapons in New England, and now you have all the weapons in the world with Mike Evans, Scotty Miller, Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette, Chris Godwin, and you're still at 9-5. Still have a chance to miss the playoffs. So shame on you, Mr. Brady, and enjoy your bag of coal.
Well, my next team I will be giving DeForest Buckner, who should have been a Pro Bowler, as we just said, and Darius Leonard. They will be getting 2 new Lamborghinis in Indianapolis 500 style, as they have been willing this Colts defense to being one of the best units in the league. Xavier Rhodes been coming on as a comeback player of the year candidate, and they have been just lights out all season, really propelling this team forward. And my bag of coal would have gone to one T.Y. Hilton, but recently has been playing very, very well for this team. I'm going to give it to Phillip Rivers, but he has been playing very well recently, but it'll be hanging over him at all times, as the inconsistency is there, it's waiting to happen, and that bag of coal is going to rip open. It's going to all fall down on his head at some time this season when he throws his second interception in the wild card round.
And lastly, for the NFC, from the Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray, you will be getting a brand new you'll be making the playoffs. You Cardinals will be making the playoffs, hopefully, for your Christmas present. Maybe not, but you've played outstanding all season long. You were in the MVP conversation just for a little bit, and you slowed down, but you're the reason the Arizona Cardinals are 8-6. And for the bag of coal, Kenyon Drake, you will be getting a bag of coal after enticing all fantasy football players to draft you this year. You have just put up terrible numbers all season long. The Kenyon Drake slander is still going on TikTok, and you will be getting a bag of coal.
And my big present for the Miami Dolphins will be going to Brian Flores, most likely candidate for Coach of the Year, has transformed this Miami Dolphins franchise starting from the end of last season, made this team tough, established a really good defense, disciplined special teams, and a great offense to complement it. This team, a promising future, but the bag of coal will be going towards this running game. There's the COVID situation there, a lot of injuries, but they need to get it together because they are not going to even make the playoffs if they can't get this running game going and win out this season.
Okay, and do you have any other special teams, Lewis, that you would like to mention?
I thought you were going to give them special credit to my Chicago Bears, but they're most likely not going to make it. But don't worry about it. But the Baltimore Ravens, also 9-5, probably going to make it, as we talked about earlier. So my big Christmas present will be going to this secondary. Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters have just been playing outstanding this season. Deshaun Elliott in the back end as well. Kudos to them. And my bag of coal will be going to one Lamar Jackson's passing game. You need to get that unlocked. Marquise Brown will also be getting a giant bag of coal, as you really need to get that connection back up and going before the playoffs start, and teams can just take that away from you.
Okay, so that will wrap up the presents and coals for this Christmas. But before we go, we have a Friday afternoon game on Christmas, Lewis. Your New Orleans Saints will be playing at home against the Minnesota Vikings. Why don't you go ahead and start us off with the predictions for this game?
Right. The big thing in this game is what Kirk Cousins are we going to be seeing in this matchup? Because the Kirk Cousins we saw, on Sunday against the Chicago Bears was missing throws here and there. In crunch time, he just was not getting it done. But the big thing for me is this Vikings defense has been injured, battered, and they have not been playing well this season, especially recently, as David Montgomery ran the ball all the way down their throats. And this has been one of the most underperforming running attacks and offensive lines in the Chicago Bears all season. So I have a lot of cause for concern with how they can stop the Saints running game. Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray, I feel like they'll just pound it down their throats, get Taysom Hill going a lot in this game as well. And we saw revitalized Drew Brees in that second half after starting very poorly against the Chiefs, still putting up 29 points in this ball game. And if, Alex Anzalone would have fallen on that ball at the end of the second half, we could be talking about a 11-3 Saints team at the moment. But I think the Saints are going to win this game at home on Christmas. I like their run defense against Dalvin Cook. I really think they'll be able to stymie him and halt this power running game of the Vikings, and then, get those good duo of cornerbacks and Marshawn Lattimore and Janoris Jenkins to really cause Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen some problems. And really, this is a big game for the Saints, the fact that it's a revenge game. This is the team that has caused you many problems over the years. 2 of the last 3 playoffs, your season has been ended by this Vikings team. Now you have a chance to end their playoff hopes with a win this Sunday or this Friday, and I think they get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I just gave the front 7 New Orleans Saints Christmas presents for, how they played all season long, and that's going to be the key to this game, right? Stop Dalvin Cook and make Kirk Cousins beat you with his arm, and we know how bad he is in prime time. And are the lights ever as bright as they are on Christmas afternoon? You're the only team playing on a Christmas day. Kirk Cousins expect a terrible game out of him per usual prime time. And for Drew Brees, this is where this is just like you said, build off of your second half of last week against the Chiefs, right? Get back into the offense after coming back from your injury. Just keep on, building on to your playoffs. Michael Thomas is not going to be playing in this game, but you'll still have some players back. Emmanuel Sanders, hopefully Traquan Smith plays in this game. And, just get ready for the playoffs. And this is going to be one of those games where you just, try to work out all the kinks you've had all season long.
Absolutely, Rob. And I think the Saints win this one. And it's going to be close at first, but they're going to pull away towards the second quarter, really get this thing out of hand for the Vikings, and make Kirk Cousins beat you with his arm, take Dalvin Cook out of this game. I have the Saints winning this matchup 31 to Vikings 20.
You have to agree with you. The New Orleans Saints win this game at home on Christmas, giving the New Orleans Saints 28, Vikings 21.
All right. Well, that will conclude this podcast, the holiday special. We will most likely not be filming our predictions episode, but we will have our predictions down for you for our recap next week, as it is Christmas time. We'll be doing a lot with our families recently. I know I'm going to have some family coming into town. So, but we wish all of you a very, very Merry Christmas. Have a great Halloween, or excuse me, great holiday season. Laraib, anything else you want to get off your chest?
No, just everyone have a Merry Christmas, and, we'll see y'all when we see y'all.
Yep. All right. Well, this will wrap up this podcast. We hope you all have a great holidays. Peace out.
See y'all.